Right, let's talk about Joker then, shall we? I've been looking for a good place to start filming my reviews. As some of you may know, I've been posting them to Tumblr recently as an Instagram that links out to them as well, but I've really been wanting to capture my thoughts more off the cuff, more spontaneous after coming out for screening. As it stands, I saw Joker last night and thought I'd just give my honest opinions straight off the bat. So bear in mind these are just my personal opinions. These may change over time. You'll see my end of the year list at some point. I'll maybe try and make the video out with that. It may just be a blog post. We'll see, and we'll see where Joker lies on that. But enough mindless introduction. Let's just get into the movie itself. So this seems to have been the most controversial and divisive film of 2019, at least that I can think of, as people genuinely seem to either love this film, like it's either film theme material, best picture type stuff, or it's one of the worst films they've ever seen, some mindless rip-off Scorsese film, and my opinion kind of lies somewhere in the middle of those. It's not either, as far as I'm concerned. It's something different, something unexpected, not quite what I was ready for going into screening, but absolutely not something I want to mindlessly praise, not something, it's not my favourite of the year, absolutely not. It's not my least favourite either though, it's somewhere just up in the middle of that range. First off, because it has to be said, as mentioned, Joaquin Phoenix, as always, is absolutely incredible in this film. I would not be surprised to see him on the ballot this year for Best Actor, regardless of how the film itself does with the other categories. He really manages to delve into the skin of this character and showcases something truly unnerving with parts of performance. I know a lot of people have mentioned how they don't like the extended sequences of just him dancing or just like him on his own, moving weirdly and everything, but to me, Phoenix just captures something so visceral and unnerving and creepy with those, while still maintaining a sympathetic character, while still being a character you can grab onto, a character you can really empathize with despite all the awful things that are happening, which I guess bleeds into the controversy around this film itself. A lot of people calling this kind of like incel propaganda or whatever, and it's not that at all. It's absolutely not that. If you've seen the film, you know how it ends. If you see the message just sprawled out there towards the end of the film by Phoenix himself, it's I wasn't planning on talking about this so early in my review, but it genuinely confuses me how people have come to such a bizarre conclusion with a film like this as to what it means, as to what impact it could have, because walking out of the screening, that's exactly the opposite of what was on my mind, at least. Let's talk about the message of the film then, shall we? To start with positives, I think it is quite interesting and quite cool to talk about some of the issues in this film, the obvious issues of mental health and abuse and things like that bleed into this version of the character, but also the broader societal holding a mirror up to the audience type stuff when it comes to how our society treats certain people and how we put certain figures on a pedestal and class system and things like that. It is all worth talking about. Personally, I think this film doesn't always do the best job of that. Quite often scenes are quite on the nose. There's a big monologue at the end which is delivered fantastically by Joaquin Phoenix, but the dialogue itself is very flat, very one-dimensional. Just the message of the movie just being told to the audience, which is something that always bothers me. There's one moment in particular where there's this fantastic moment delivered perfectly again by Joaquin Phoenix, where there's a big revelation about one of the characters, and I won't spoil it or anything, but I was watching the film and this part happens and it clicks in my head. I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing, told such a subtle way, and then the film decides with using shots from earlier in the movie and stuff to just spell out what's happening, which is something that bothers me in a lot of movies. Something that I'm bound to bring up again if I keep doing these reviews, because it genuinely irritates me seeing a filmmaker decide to just spell out what they have to say to their audience instead of allowing that interpretation. And the other thing that bothered me about this film is something that isn't mentioned a lot in other reviews of this, that I've seen at least, is the constant references to the source material that feel almost out of place. The film is absolutely set up to be set apart, to stand alone from previous incarnations of the Joker, from the whole Batman lore and everything, but they keep bringing it back. There's one moment towards the very end of the film that genuinely kind of angered me, because it's something we've seen so many times done in such a bland way that it's so reminiscent of every other version of this one event from the source material that didn't need to be in the film whatsoever. Some characters were switched around, some new characters were added. You could easily just get around even mentioning this idea, and the film would be more effective for it. You could focus more on this character of Arthur Fleck without pulling me out of the film, making me think of other movies, other incarnations of these characters that are only a few years old. You know, we've had recent versions of the Joker and Batman and these characters just, you know, as recent as 2016 with Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. So I really do not understand why they felt the need to do all these things. If anything, it kind of flies in the face of what this movie was going for, at least within my opinion. Don't get the wrong impression though of my thoughts in this movie. I know I've been kind of griping on it a little bit. I think the dialogue isn't as strong as it maybe could be. I don't think the message holds up as much as maybe the filmmakers think it does, at least with what I've seen from the director Todd Phillips and some of the cast in interviews and stuff, how genuinely passionate they seem about this. I don't think it holds up quite as well as they think. But that incredible Joaquin Phoenix performance makes this movie more than worth seeing, and Todd Phillips actually proves himself as a director more than I would have thought. You know, I associate Phillips with the Hangover trilogy or Due Date and films like that. I'm sure he's done other dumb comedies I wasn't a big fan of. I can't think of them right now.
Are you here for the feeding?
Excuse me?
Here, there's a real attention to detail in some scenes. I know it's supposed to be Gotham City, the fictional city, but it really does feel reminiscent of other representations of like 70s New York. The Scorsese comparisons are fairly obvious. There's definite homage to films like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, especially De Niro even in this film as a comedian, which is kind of a nice touch. But all that really works. It has a real grimy feel to it. You get involved in this world and invest into the story fairly quickly, even though the intro is quite slow. It takes a little while to build up to really start to understand what the film's about and what's happening. The atmosphere, the world building itself really does bring you in, and there's a handful of shots in the film that just look incredible. Most of them silent moments with some slow motion, some the score will rise up, very cliche cinema type things, very Scorsese, very Tarantino, but they work absolutely. And there's a few moments there, for a split second, the movie did trick me into forgetting my issues with other parts of the film, and I was genuinely considering giving it a higher score for a while, but the problems always seep back in. Right after something incredible, right after an incredible shot and a brilliant piece of performance by Phoenix, you'll get something just genuinely irritating that pulls you straight out of the film, whether it be a reference to something that didn't need to be referenced in this film, a corny piece of dialogue or something, just something really cliche. There's enough wrong with this movie, enough that irritates me with this movie, that I can't fully recommend it. I can't give this like a must-see rating or anything. I can't I can't defend it quite as much as I hoped I would, given the recent controversies and stuff. My side with that is still, it's a movie. See it if you want to. Don't see it if you don't want to. Don't pretend that movies like this are the cause of violence and stuff. I think that is utterly ridiculous. But on the other hand, I'm not going to be out there championing this film to win Best Picture or anything, because I just don't think it deserves it. Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to say it did, because I've been excited for some for a while. That being said, Joker isn't exactly the biggest disappointment of the year or anything like that. It's not a bad film. I do recommend this movie. I don't think it's must-see or film of the year material or anything like that, but if this looks up your alley, if you've watched the trailers, if you know you're a big fan of Joaquin Phoenix, you're a fan of Scorsese style gritty New York crime films, then absolutely check this out. Your mileage may vary, as always. This is just my opinions of this film. That doesn't mean you're going to think the same, doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean anything like that. Just, make your mind up with, especially with a film as divisive as this. I'd be interested to see what other people think of this. If you want to comment or fire me a message or something, or talk to me in the real world, it's also an option. Because I'm genuinely fascinated by this film, even though I didn't absolutely love it. I know I'll be thinking about this for a while, I know I'll be talking about it with people. It's one definitely worth dissecting, even if I did have personal issues with it. Overall, I'm going to give Joker a 7 out of 10 for now. Again, absolutely not the worst thing ever, but also not a must-see. Go see it for the Joaquin Phoenix performance. Go see it for some of the brilliant cinematography, which I barely mentioned actually. And yeah, but if you don't want to see it, so what? Anyway, thanks for watching my review of Joker. Tell me what you think of this, like it, dislike it, whatever. Just let me know, because I want to keep making things like this. And it'd be good to get some feedback on what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. Is the iced tea distracting? Because I can ditch that. I realise that ice makes a lot of noise. I know the lighting's a bit weird as well. I'll try and fix things like this for next time or whenever I can. But generally, thanks for checking this out. Thanks for bearing with me while I'm trying out these kind of new things. I'll try and transition from the text blog to video, because this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I've had my camera for a little while. I've had those short films up on the channel for some time now. I've wanted to do something with this. But if you hate this, tell me that as well. I don't really care. If you're thinking of my feelings, I just want to be able to improve. And also tell me what you thought of Joker. I don't know if I told you to do that already. If I did, I told you twice now. I still want to hear what you have to say. Yeah. Ending things is hard.